Yeah, so my name is Andrew Handel. I'm the director of ALEC's Education and Workforce Development Task Force. Thrilled to be joined by our fearless CEO, Lisa Nelson. We've also got Steve Moore, co-founder of the Committee to Unleash Prosperity, and one of our outstanding ALEC national board members, Senator Patricia Rucker from West Virginia. Really excited to introduce you all to our brand new publication, the 2023 Index of State Education Freedom. We'll kind of go over the top line results, the rankings, how this came together, and we're really excited to share it with you all. So, Lisa, I'll go ahead and hand it off to you.
Well, thank you so much, Andrew, and kudos to you for pulling this all together. I think I'm really, really proud of this publication from ALEC. We've done an education report card for many, many years, but I think transitioning to this index of state education freedom is a really smart way to incorporate all the things that are happening all over the country. And when you think about what's happening in education, obviously the ESA movement, that universal funding or the funding mechanism has been an incredible piece of the story and the success for these last couple of years. And we'll talk about that. But that's not the only thing. I mean, I think that if you look at the 5 scoring categories that Andrew took into consideration when he was thinking about the elements of freedom, there was those programs, the funding, charter school policies, whether your legislature has charter school enabling policies on the books, homeschooling policies, likewise, to make sure that we've got that opportunity on the books. And then new categories like virtual schooling policies that enable and innovate around what happened during COVID and making sure that people felt like they had the opportunities and the options accessible to them. And then finally, this idea of open enrollment. That's a great way of saying not only can you take the funding and move it over, but as a student, you can be living in one district. And if the school that's in the neighboring district is better for you, you can find a way to make that work. So those are the 5 scoring categories that I think Andrew incorporated in. It has already been tweeted out by the governor of the free state of Florida, but Florida does remain the gold standard in education freedom. They had maybe a few months where they were lagging behind because they hadn't really done the universal ESA. But with Senator Rucker in West Virginia and Ben Toma out in Arizona, the speaker there, giving him a run for his money, he had to quickly pivot and get that universal funding in Florida. So they remained that top rank. And I will say that the 5 states that Andrew will go through and that we'll talk about that are really ranking in the top for education freedom: Florida, Arkansas leapt to the top of the list because of Sarah Huckabee Sanders and the great work of Jim Dotson and the Arkansas legislature. Indiana, which always shows very, very strong because of the great former leadership of people like Governor Mitch Daniels and Governor Pence when he was in the Indiana executive mansion. And then, of course, Arizona and Iowa lead the pack. So I know we'll get into a lot more details on how we came up with this, and then maybe how your state can compete. We like to say that you don't want to fall behind by standing still. So knowing that in 2024, a lot of states are going to be looking at this rankings and looking at these categories and saying, do we have these policies on the books, and how can we leapfrog and jump across and jump over some of these states is going to be that competition that we love to see at ALEC. So my favorite cheerleader for all things good in the country and all things free is Steve Moore with the Committee to Unleash Prosperity. His ideas and his creativity and innovation around these issues, I'm thrilled that beyond the economics and the budgets and the tax reform that he's working on, that he has really jumped in full force behind this education freedom movement. And I want to turn the microphone over to Steve for a couple of words. Steve, thanks for being here.
Well, thank you so much, Lisa. By the way, Andrew, is there a way to put on the screen the grades for the states, or is that possible?
Yeah, sure. Let me share my screen real fast.
I'd love to see, because I looked at the list.
Great.
I can't remember where all the states are, so I'd like to have it right in front of me.
Let's see. Can everyone see that okay?
Yep, we can see it. There you go.
There it is.
There we go. So thank you, Lisa. I'm also proud to be a board member of ALEC and have been involved with ALEC for many years. Not all 50, but maybe 30 out of the 50. And so it's been a really great association. So Lisa and I, back at the very start of the year, with some support of some funders, decided that we thought that 2023 could be the year of school choice. And I think most of you know that we partnered up and we got a lot of other school choice organizations engaged. I don't, how many were there, Lisa? I know at least 8 or 10 groups from around the country.
All of our coalition partners, many of whom are on the phone here today, which we appreciate. A lot of his Andrew's private sector members as well.
Right. So, our goal was to get, maybe 5 or 6 or 7 states to adopt more ambitious school choice and education freedom plans. And I think, how many did we end up getting, Lisa? Like 10 or 11? I don't remember. I've lost track, but it's been a great year.
10 states. 10 states right now.
Up to 10.
Yeah. So that's amazing. So congratulations to all the state legislators. I say this every time I speak about any subject, that, and I think many of you do too, that this is the most important civil rights issue of our time. That this is not an initiative for, rich white kids. It's an initiative that will help all kids, but especially those who are disadvantaged in low income neighborhoods, Black and Hispanics who are unfortunately in bad school districts. So we're very proud of what's happened, and you should be too. I know a lot of the people on this call were instrumental in getting this done. So I salute you for what you've done. This is truly, the left loves to talk about for the children. This really, truly is for the children. And thanks to all the people on this call, it looks like we're going to have several. Do we know how many kids, if we take it all together, Lisa? I know we're waiting on Texas where we could get another 3 or 4 million kids under choice programs. But do you have any estimate for how many kids are covered now?
We can get that number, but I would say in the hundreds of thousands, because
I would think it'd be more than that, because Florida alone,
just Florida was 300,000 or 400,000.
Yeah. So anyway, that's fantastic. Well, I want to get to several million. So we still have a lot of work to do, as you can see from the map. But this is I'm an economist. I'm not an educator, but I can tell you that when you have kids that are graduating from high school or grade school without really being able to read or do math at a proficient level, it has profoundly negative impacts on our economy. I think everyone knows how poor some of the results are, especially in many inner cities. So proud of the states that are on top, and one of the things I find so interesting is, when you look at Florida and Arkansas and Indiana and Arizona, Iowa at the top, isn't competition a beautiful thing? We have so many of our states really trying to get to the top of that list. Remember when we talked to the people in Austin, remember, at least they said, we want to get in front of Florida. And so, now Texas has some work to do, right? Because they're only 21st, but I think hopefully in the weeks ahead, as their special session, emerges, and hopefully they'll come out with something very big, because there's a kind of a question mark right now in Texas in terms of what's going to happen there. I was telling Lisa that they have something like a $16 to $18 billion budget surplus this year on top of their normal rainy day fund. So what better way to spend that money than to allow kids to have a great education? Great story. Now, the only thing I'll stop talking, but we see that in many of the more Republican states, we're seeing, a lot of advances. We've got to get these blue states involved in this. We've got to get, the first school choice program in the country was in Washington, D.C. So we need to see this not as a partisan issue, but something that is just for the future of our country. So congratulations to everybody who's involved, and I'll stop there.
Thanks so much. And Andrew, I don't know if you want to go to Senator Rucker to talk a little bit. I thought that our session that we had this week in DC with the 50 under 50 on education was really, really kind of powerful, with Senator Rucker and Senator Jim Dotson from Arkansas talking about going big and making sure that you don't, try to get incremental steps forward. It was all about, if you're going to do this, go big. And with that, Senator Rucker, we are so happy that you're with us.
Thank you so much. I am so excited that ALEC has taken on this index because, as has been said, education is the way that we move forward as a country and we get out of the very, very tough place that we're in. We need to improve our education. And school choice is the way that we are going to do that. And this index will help states compete, but also know where they could improve. So great job for ALEC for getting this done.
Thanks so much. Andrew, do you want to walk through the index a little bit more in depth? Sure. Or do you want to open it up for Q&A?
Yeah. I'll provide, just a little bit more depth to the publication itself. I will say, I know Steve had asked, how many students how many students are eligible for these programs now. I was quickly pulling up my Excel spreadsheet in the background where I keep all. But right now it's 12.5 million students, or about 22.8%.
You're off by a factor of 10.
I was. That's a bad economist.
So, of course, of those programs, Florida, easily the largest at 3.2 million students eligible. North Carolina just got theirs done. That's 1.7 million. So it's a couple really big ones. I think Texas would be the biggest if that gets done. So they're obviously going into special session next week. So we're excited to see how that plays out. But yeah, as Lisa mentioned, we really tried to reimagine the education report card, which ALEC has been publishing for probably about 25 years. This was the time to rethink what that publication looked like, with so many amazing changes happening around the country. States just going big, getting these massive ESA programs done. All students can participate. So it's been really, really exciting. And with that, we wanted this to be kind of a forward-looking publication. We wanted to identify the types of education freedom policies that will help the most students succeed and achieve, in the long run. So we've got those 5 scoring categories that Lisa mentioned at the top. We've got funding and financing programs, which is where your ESAs would fall in. We've got charter schools. So we looked at, how many authorizers are available for those charter schools. Is their funding near the same level as the traditional public schools? That's a really key indicator that we looked at. A third category was homeschooling. We went to our friends at the HSLDA, the Homeschool Legal Defense Association, and used some data that they have. And that's actually the category that most states scored pretty strongly in. Probably about 2/3 of states have a low regulatory environment. But what separates the top of the pack there is the states that don't require parents to notify that they're going to homeschool. There are some states where there's you have to notify 30 days ahead of time and things like that. They kind of get in the way of homeschooling in that sense. So fourth category was virtual schools. So we looked at that. And then, of course, open enrollment, which is, I think one of the more underrated aspects of school choice, but, still very important. That students have, access to public school choice, which is where we capture that open enrollment factor. So yeah, we're really excited about it. Those top 5 states: Florida, Arkansas, Indiana, Arizona, Iowa. There's a theme there, which is, they've all got that universal education freedom done. 4 of those states have ESAs. Indiana has a universal voucher. So yeah, really, really excited about that. And, of course, I'd, be remiss if I didn't mention West Virginia one more time. Going, leapfrogging to number 10, thanks to Senator Rucker, who, not only got the Hope Scholarship done there, which is also now an ALEC model policy, by the way, but also, expanding open enrollment options, expanding charter school options. So a lot of the work that she's done over the years has resulted in that top 10 ranking now for West Virginia. So we're really excited about that. But yeah, Lisa,
I would say, Andrew, just you're talking about, this competition and the grading. I think what we really want to establish, and we talked about it at our 50th anniversary the other night, but we really want to establish is this notion of 25 states by the year 2025, passing that universal funding so that they can leapfrog and get into that top notch. Andrew talked a little bit about the theme of this. Oops, did I lose you guys?
I hear you.
Nope. We can still hear you.
You can still hear me? Okay, great. My camera just went off. Andrew talked about the theme of, the ones that are on the top have those universal programs and that funding mechanism. So I would say if you are thinking about moving that language, and we've got ALEC model policy and there's other models that you can use, but if you're thinking about moving that and you want to try to do it in 2024 or 2025, let us know, let some of our partners know. We would like to pull together this Education Freedom Alliance with everybody that's been working on this issue, and really by 2025 have 25 states that are up there with that A ranking that Andrew can give them.
Great. Thanks, Lisa. And I did just drop a note in the chat, but if anyone has a question, feel free to use the raise your hand function or the Q&A function in Zoom. We're more than happy to answer any questions that anyone might have.
Or if anybody wants to boast about what they've done, I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, who's got the first question? Don't be shy. We know you're out there. There you got one, Andrew.
There we go.
What has been the response to the new universal programs? Andrew, do you want to respond to that, or Patricia?
Sure. Yeah, Senator Rucker, if you want to go ahead, and I'll go after you.
Sure. Not certain if they mean the response from citizens. I can tell you that the popularity of having these universal choice options is through the roof. Even among Democrats, it is 65, 69% approval. It's slightly higher on Republicans, independents, but it really is just universally supported. And I can tell you the legislators, I think legislators are understanding that this is the issue in which they really truly could campaign on very easily because of the support from the public, because you're putting kids first and you're just prioritizing that. It really does help you. I know that in West Virginia, there was this fear before we passed it that, oh my goodness, this might hurt us. Actually, after we passed our universal ESA, the legislators that's voted for not only got reelected, we actually got a supermajority in our state because of this. And so it truly is a hugely popular among the public and among the folks in most states.
And Senator Rucker, at our recent Academy, somebody else asked you a question about, the common complaint is that the fear of, oh, you're taking away from the public schools. And you had a great answer to that, which is, just giving a family the choice empowers them to really think through, well, is my public school giving me what I'm after? And it empowers them to maybe ask those questions. So maybe they don't leave the public school. And I thought that was a really interesting dynamic that was set up. If you want to expand on that, I thought it was just really great.
Yeah, absolutely. So, it's funny because they always portray it as, oh my goodness, you're taking kids away. But actually, there's nothing to fear if your public school is doing what they're supposed to do. And the vast majority of folks that attend public schools are happy and satisfied, and they're able to get what they need out of that public school. And that's 90%. Even the states that have had school choice measures for the longest have a participation rate of like 4% of their students who are eligible participating in those choice programs. But that's the point. If you give parents that option, if you give students that option, they can really reflect on what is best for me personally, for my future, for what I would like to see with my life. And you're only going to help the public schools if those students who can get what they need out of the public schools have that choice and remain there. And those who are not getting what they need are able to go find it wherever it is. So you're really it's a win-win for everyone.
Well, and that goes to what Steve was talking about isn't competition great? Because even with the notion that these parents might take the money and go to another school, doesn't that make and almost force the public school to do better and to, kind of up their game a little bit to make sure that they're not losing folks? We had a representative from Georgia say on the chat here that she's going to share it with her network. And I think, Andrew, that's one of the best things you could possibly ask everyone to do. In addition to passing, all 5 of those categories in your states, take this publication. You've got the link here, and I know Andrew's getting it out to everybody. And we did press on it, and I think Ron DeSantis actually tweeted and give a shout out to ALEC for it for the state of Florida. But share it with your networks. I think that if you have a group of parents that is active in your community and they're looking for materials and they're looking for resources, this is a great one because it really puts right in their hands kind of the tools that they can be arguing for in their states.
And another thing I would add to Lisa, I was just talking about the importance of the universal education freedom element. We heard, during our ALEC policy day on Wednesday, we had a panel there. We had Robert Enlow from EdChoice, who's a terrific advocate for this stuff. And, he mentioned during that panel, he said, you might as well just go big and go universal because the opposition is going to be the same no matter what. You could start with a really small program that's only for students with special needs or low-income students. But that, the unions and everyone else, they're still going to come after you just as hard. We're seeing that in Texas now. So, I think that's why it's so important, not just for these students and families, making sure that everybody has access to these choices, but, even from a political perspective, it's going to be the same level of opposition no matter what. So you might as well just go big. I think that's the theme of the webinar here is go big. We're seeing so many states do that now, already up to 10 states that have these universal programs. So it's really exciting.
And can I add to that by having universal, you're essentially saying you care about all students, no matter what their income, geography, or particular background is. You are prioritizing the students, not a number or a statistic. And I just think, to me, that's always a winner.
Any other questions? Any other comments? We just really want to provide for you all by even logging on and listening. We know you're an advocate for education in your state and advocating for education and choice and parental empowerment. So we've got, everybody that called in today, we've got your number. We will be following up. If there's anything we can do to provide a resource, I know I've volunteered to come out to your states. Steve, I'm going to volunteer you. Senator Rucker, I know we've been sending you all over the country to talk to folks and to help them through whatever the issue is that's stymieing them getting it across. But we really, really appreciate you calling in on a Friday afternoon. Andrew, do you want to close us out?
Yeah, no, I just appreciate everyone taking the time to join us. And thank you, Steve. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Senator Rucker. We're excited for this publication to be out there. And like Lisa said, we're a resource for you all. So if we can ever be helpful, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. We'll be following up and look forward to staying in touch.